So at this point, I would imagine that everybody and their mama has known about the case of Jamal Khashoggi, the disappearance. The man who, for love, went to the consulate of a country that, let's say, he's been somewhat critical of, the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, in order to get a marriage license or prove that he wasn't married in order to marry the woman that he wanted to marry. She waited outside. He vanished. This was not a case of alien abduction. This was a case pretty early on where the Turkish government came out and said the Saudis had a bunch of thick-necked goons essentially torture the guy, mangle the guy, chop the guy's body up, and take it out in cake boxes or something before they immediately got back on an airplane and flew off. Now, the catch for this is, initially Saudi said, we have no idea what happened to him. Vanished. And eventually, after enough pressure, or political pressure, and I would imagine enough people, you know, this thing of, dude, it was in your consulate, he's been critical of you, you did it. They eventually owned up to, okay. He got into a fight with 18 men, and, you know, he died in the process. The new development in this is that body parts of Khashoggi has been found in the garden of one of the generals. Take a look at this. This is amazingly gruesome. Khashoggi's body parts found in garden of Saudi consul general's home, sources say. Now, Erdogan, or at the very least Turkey, Erdogan has been pretty specific, or was pretty clear early on. And the reason why he was so certain about this early on was because they had the consulate bugged, meaning they have an audio and visual of this person, Khashoggi, being tortured and killed. Body parts belonging to the murdered journalist Jamal Khashoggi have been found, according to Sky News sources, who added that he had been cut up and his face disfigured. With no photographic evidence to support Sky News' sources' claim, gruesome and unverified images of body parts supposedly belonging to Khashoggi have been making rounds in Arabic media. The sources' claims echo a statement by Dogu Pernik, leader of the left-wing Vaden Party, on Monday night. Pernik told Turkish television that Khashoggi's body parts have been recovered from a well in the Saudi general's garden, and added that President Erdogan would explain his findings later on Tuesday. I'm just going to read it because there's nothing else to add to it. The news comes after Turkish President Erdogan demanded that the Saudi officials reveal the whereabouts of Khashoggi's remains after the Saudi government admitted that he had been murdered, albeit in a quote-unquote fist fight, mind you, with, 18 thick-necked goons with officials inside the consulate in Istanbul. Speaking before the Turkish parliament on Tuesday, Erdogan said that the evidence we have so far collected indicate that Jamal Khashoggi was slain in a vicious, violent murder planned in advance by the Saudi government. And on that point, we know that the United States government, or at the very least, the reports have come out saying that the U.S. government had intercepted communications, meaning they knew what was going to take place with the guy. Whether they knew they were going to kill him or not, I don't know, but I would say that you don't send somebody with a bone saw if you're not necessarily going to use a bone saw. I will tell you this. My wife and I have been dragging ourselves from pillar to post all across the world. And everywhere that we've been, this story has led. I've watched European Parliament today where they were talking about sanctioning Saudi Arabia to prevent weapon sales. I've seen Angela Merkel come out saying that Germany will no longer provide weapon sales to the Saudi Arabia government. There is seemingly forming a consensus, be it not necessarily here in the States, or at the very least by this particular administration, but definitely with people around the world. The question that really is going to boil down to, and I can't hold this video long because I have a show with By Any Means Necessary coming up at 3 p.m. Are financial interests going to trump human concerns? Meaning, it's bad enough of the deaths in Yemen and all of the murders and the killings and the starvations and using weaponized disease in order to kill people under this idea of the Iranian government. But for whatever reason, this feels more brutal and this feels more despicable. It's financial considerations, meaning this idea that these people or these various countries are getting oil and that Saudi is buying their weapons, going to trump the human concerns of a person being brutally tortured and murdered. From my understanding and listening to the European Parliament today and all of these people pissed off, gyrating, gesticulating angrily about what Saudi Arabia has been doing, and mind you, not fully being hypocrites on this, bringing up the fact that we've sold weapons to them, bringing up the fact of the killings and the murders that are in Yemen, bringing up all of that, and it's saying, making the point of, we should have done this earlier. Now, fact is, it's possible that it's Angela Merkel who's taking the lead on this, and that Europe is going to follow Angela Merkel's lead. Are the concerns, from the standpoint of economic concerns, going to trump the idea that you can torture and brutally murder a man in outright contemptible hubris, while the person who loves him stands outside and waits? It is something heinous where I guess I have this thing in my head of, if that was my wife, if my wife went with me to some embassy or anywhere and I didn't come out, and the blank-faced guy who's saying, nobody's here, everybody's gone, and then she finds out later that I was brutally tortured and murdered, and I think in one report it says fingers cut off or something. They had this, and then have it being chopped up. Yeah, there's something to be said where a large number of people tend to blur, where the individual, not so much. What is Europe going to do? Is Europe going to allow economic concerns to trump, if I'm not mistaken, their own European laws? And are they going to let Saudi Arabia walk? I'm not going to keep this one long, like I said, because I have a show coming up at 3 p.m. And if I'm being honest, I have a slate of shows that I actually really want to do that I'm probably not going to be able to do until after the second show. I don't care if there's some neocons or some other people who are joining in on this for other reasons. The relationship with Saudi Arabia needs to be changed. It needs to be revamped. You have a totalitarian state that we, for whatever reason, oil, have been okay with, not to mention they buy our weapons. It's time for a reimagining of that relationship, meaning not having a relationship with them at all, at least not from the standpoint of the way we've typically gone about our affairs. So I will end this here, and I'll put this article at the bottom. But what it boils down to is the new thing for today is that Khashoggi's body parts have been chopped up. Edward Klein, I have no expectation of the United States doing anything about this. Sword Medium, Jamal, not saying he's lying, but I'm sure there's an agenda there. There may be an agenda there, but so what? Like, I know people are saying, you know, they're using this thing of saying that Khashoggi was something other than what the mainstream media is making him out to be. Fair enough. I don't care. What mainstream media's objective here is not necessarily the same objective of my own. I want a reimagining of the relationship with Saudi Arabia. And if, unfortunately, Khashoggi is the thing that does it, not them being, you know, the Saudis being the majority party that was on those airplanes when they fell into those towers, not the murdering of the Yemenis, not the flogging of the other guy that's there. If Khashoggi is the thing that I can use to hit them over the head with, and it's the thing that all of these other countries agree with me with, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll absolutely take it. Sword Medium. Erdogan is a shifty guy. Erdogan is a shifty guy. He is a shifty guy. He has granted passage to ISIS while live fire. Yes, he is a shifty guy. Agreed. Agreed. Nothing to do with Khashoggi being murdered and chopped up. And again, it makes all the sense in the world for Turkey to bug the embassy of Saudi Arabia. What country wouldn't bug the embassy of the country, of some other country, particularly something that's regional power in that particular? So, not to mention, Turkey was very specific and fast about it the moment that this happened. Whether Erdogan is shifty or not doesn't necessarily mean that he's wrong on this particular point. So, I do think it's funny that Erdogan is the guy who's making this lead about, his argument is not necessarily press freedom, but essentially a journalist is being killed and it's Erdogan that's leading the charge in regards to making this and bringing this to light. So I'm going to end this here. I will see you guys. I'll be on by any means necessary at 3 p.m. in 39 minutes. My math. It took me a minute. It took me a moment for the math. All right, guys. I'll see you all shortly. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the Patreon. And I would most likely see you guys tonight because I have a slate of shows of some awesome things that have happened today, or at least fascinating things that have happened today. Everything from across the pond to even stuff that's happened in the States. So I'll see you guys shortly. Thanks all.